the more formal part of the AGM. I'm just going to provide some housekeeping notes on this new different format on Zoom. Most of you were emailed some housekeeping etiquette or Zoom etiquette from Alec, but I'll just remind everyone. First up, we will be doing some more door prizes, but you have to stay on the call until the end of the AGM to qualify. We have a $50 gift card from Mr. Mike's, thanks to Glenn Naylor of the Chambers Group Insurance Plan. A $25 gift card from Avril Creek in support of shopping local this season, and a wonderful gift bag compliments of Yellow Point cranberries. So you got to stay in and listen to the financials. That's what I'm trying to say. So we hope everyone is familiar with Zoom by now. Regarding the muting option on Zoom, we'd ask that you use the microphone feature to mute yourself during the presentation and unmute yourself if you want to ask a question, as we will need to scroll through several screens to see all the participants. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please do so first in the chat box. That's under the More feature, either in the bottom of your screen or the top right hand of your screen, wherever it sits. And then we will then ask you to unmute yourself to speak to that question. And regarding voting, again, reminder that there's only one vote per member organization. So if there are a couple of you in attendance from the same business, hopefully you've already decided who will carry your vote. We have decided to go with the actual physical raising of the hand for voting, not the hand raising feature that is available on the Zoom, typically on the bottom of your screen. So a physical hand in the air. In this case, we will ask you to turn your video on. So hopefully we can all see your smiling faces and your hand being raised. So once again, please raise your hand and keep it up until we can go through all the tiles and tally the votes. If you need to leave the AGM, you need to please let us know in the chat box so that we can ensure we have quorum. Quorum for the AGM is 25 voting members, so we don't want to lose too many members during the next hour. We do encourage you to stay till the end, and we typically do wrap up by 7 p.m. So with that, I'm going to turn the AGM over to President Julie Skur.
Hang on, I got to unmute here. Welcome, everyone. I am Julie Skur, the president of the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce and the chair of this AGM. In the spirit of reconciliation, I would like to recognize that this meeting is taking place on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples. So we have quite a few board members and other VIPs that I want to point out. I think I have identified all these people are here. So board members present. Sorry, and I'm going to mute my phone. Board members present: Arlene Johnson, Chris Duncan, Christopher Schmirk, Ellie Rouge, Karen Bresler, Leah Hudson, Matthew Hutari, Vince Avery, Pam Stover, Zeta Giron. I hope I got everybody. Liaisons that we have on our Zoom meeting tonight: Barry O'Riordan from Economic Development Cowichan, Kathy Robertson from Community Futures Cowichan, Amanda Vance from Downtown Business Association. Appointing liaison from our municipalities: Councillor Carol Newington. Elected officials: I don't know if Alistair is, our Member of Parliament, Alistair McGregor, is on the call yet, but he is standing by.
I am here.
Oh, there he is. I can hear him. Oh, there you are. Councillor Carol Newington from the City of Duncan. I don't think Michelle Staples has joined us. Doesn't sound like it. Okay. And School District 79 Trustee Elizabeth Croft. Past presidents we have on board are Glenn Naylor, George Gates, and of course, Christopher Duncan. Media reporting for us tonight: Andrea Rosato Taylor from the Cowichan Valley Citizen and Black Press. And of course, our chamber and visitor staff, Sonia Nagel, our ED, Alec Wheeler, our events and membership, Sandy Farron, Kirsty Grant from the Visitor Center. And of course, our past president, Chris Duncan, will also be acting as our parliamentarian, and he will run the election for us tonight. So I would like to, at this time, introduce our special guest speaker, my favorite member of Parliament, probably the only one I know really, but my favorite member of Parliament, Alistair McGregor, who works tirelessly to represent Cowichan businesses in Ottawa. And we're so grateful to have you with us tonight. Thank you, Alistair. Please unmute yourself and go for it.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. And I too want to acknowledge that I'm coming to you tonight from Cowichan territory. That's right. I'm in the comfort of my constituency office here in Duncan. And even though Ottawa has been fully functioning, I actually haven't been there since September. We're now enjoying a hybrid parliament model, which we felt was important to negotiate with the government. It's a fully functioning House of Commons, but it allows members of parliament, no matter what region of the country they come from, whether they have vulnerable people at home or vulnerable constituencies, to fully represent their constituents. Because given the way things are going now, especially in Ontario, it's just absolutely impossible to cram all 338 members of parliament into that chamber. We've certainly had our hiccups. I'm sure everyone on this call is a little bit zoomed out these days. It's the same for parliamentarians, and I certainly hope your voting goes a little bit better than some of our voting has gone. We've had a few hiccups along the way, and some people really need to be very careful with the mute button. That's all I'll say about some of my colleagues. But you know, it's really fantastic to see so many familiar faces on this call. You are all just such outstanding members of our community, and I have to give a shout out to the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce, who has been a tremendous advocate on your behalf. You know, together with the Chemainus Chamber, the Lake Cowichan Chamber, the Port Renfrew Chamber, and the West Shore Chamber. Those are all the chambers within the riding Cowichan, Malahat, Langford. I've been doing my best to stay in touch with all of you, but each of the chambers have also been very strong in their advocacy, and I know that the feedback you've given to them has made its way up to the chain, to the BC Chamber and to our national chamber, the BC Federation of the Federation of Independent Businesses. They've all been very strong advocates, and I think that, you know, during this unparalleled time that we find ourselves in, I think it's been all of those different pieces working together, talking to their members of parliament, but also talking to the government itself, that we've arrived at a place where, you know, we have business support programs that are a lot better than what was first on offer. It really has been a tough time. I don't need to belabor that point with you. I know many of you are operating small businesses, which have definitely seen the crunch. And you know, I know that over these last months, there have been quite a number of small businesses that have come to my office and have worked with my staff. I mean, even though my constituency offices have closed their doors to the public, we've been trying to limit our interactions with the public. You know, following the advice of our public health officials, we've still been there to answer emails, answer phone calls, and to try and take those individual stories to Parliament when the opportunity presents itself. And I know that with this second wave, you know, I back in the days of August, it was looking pretty positive for a lot of us. But now we're going through a second wave, and we know that with the new health orders that have come through from Dr. Bonnie Henry, we're looking at a pretty tough winter. And, you know, for a lot of us, spring of 2021, and hopefully the promise that comes with a potential vaccine, I know for many of us that can't come soon enough. So I just want you to know that, you know, I have been I've been listening to the personal stories, I've been reading to a lot of the personal stories, and it's hard not to internalize a lot of that. So I've certainly felt a lot of the pain that people in this region are going through, whether they're a small business owner or someone who's lost their job. or someone who had big plans during this year to start up a new small business and had those plans completely demolished. It's been a tough time, but I think that we can all be proud of living in a community that is a pretty resilient community and has a very strong community spirit. It's a place where I feel a lot of us are looking out for one another, and I think that shows through time and time again. So, a quick review. I think during this pandemic, even though my caucus is a small one, we're only 24 members. We felt that being in a minority parliament has offered us the opportunity to use a little bit of leverage. And I have to say that during this year, for most of this year, the degree to which opposition parties and the government have cooperated has really been phenomenal to see. And I think every member of parliament, no matter what their political stripe, what community they represent, I think they've done our country proud to some extent in how we have collaborated and tried to make those programs better. We look at the Canadian emergency wage subsidy, the improvements we made to that. When it was first on offer, the government was prepared to offer only 10%, and so we pushed back and managed to push that up to 75%. We know that the first offer of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit for those people who had lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19, we managed to make that simpler into a $2,000 payment. Through Bill C4, which was introduced just in September, we managed to successfully negotiate paid sick leave. And the reason why that's important, and I think it's especially underlined at this time, is that we didn't want employees to make that difficult decision between having an income and like choosing between their income and their work. And it's especially important for small business because now that workers have that security in having paid sick leave, there's no danger of them accidentally coming to work, infecting their fellow co-workers, potentially the owner of the small business, and any customers, which would be absolutely devastating. We really want to make sure that we're putting in place a program that kind of eliminates any chance of that happening. Bill C9, which of course is the most recent one, that's one where we successfully negotiated with the government to extend the emergency wage subsidy to make it a little bit more flexible. So now it's going to continue on into the year 2021. But also, I have to give a shout out to my colleagues, Gord Johns, who's the NDP's critic for small business, to Peter Julian, who's our finance critic, who have also managed to make sure that we now have that Canada Emergency Rental Subsidy, which is a huge improvement over the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. We are going to see the Canada Emergency Business Account is going to be increased from $40,000 to $60,000, and $20,000 of that is now going to be forgivable. So there have been all sorts of amazing improvements that have been made to these programs, and I know that we still have work to be done in this regard, but I'm confident that with the continued advocacy of chambers of commerce, with the continued advocacy of many individual small businesses, we can get to a place where we are pushing the government to make sure it's responding to those needs that are out there. Especially, if this pandemic keeps on going, we hopefully want to see some signs of improvement in the spring, of course. But of course, the only thing that is certain is that time will tell. There are problems, though. Some of you might be aware of the problems with the commercial rental assistance program as it existed over the summer. The major problem with that program was that it gave actually too much power to landlords. You actually had to have a cooperative landlord, and for small businesses that did have that great relationship with their landlords, that's fantastic. But I have spoken to many small businesses in the riding, up and down the riding, who unfortunately did not have cooperative landlords, and that really left them in the lurch, where they were unable to access the program and unable to gain its benefits. And unfortunately, we did see a lot close their doors because they were unable to negotiate that. Because as you know, the biggest fixed costs for many small businesses our labor and of course their rent. And if you're not tackling both of those with an appropriate program, there are going to be major problems. So what we're trying to do with this new rent subsidy that's now on offer as a result of Bill C9, it's only going to be from September onwards. We're trying to push to make it retroactive to April so that small businesses can try and access those funds. I'll keep you updated on our progress on that. The other big problem, I made mention of startups. The big problem is so many people who started businesses in 2020 have been unable to access these programs because they haven't been able to show the precipitous decline in their business revenues. So that's another thing that we're going to be actively working on to make sure that the federal government is addressing those concerns. It's unfortunate that a bill like Bill C9 only just received royal assent on November 19th. For things like the paid sick leave, the new rental subsidy, the extension of the emergency wage subsidy, we knew back in August when those were pressing concerns that these would all need legislative fixes. And unfortunately, with prorogation, that slowed things down. I mean, I don't want to harp too much on the past, but there was a lot we could have gotten done much earlier if we hadn't gone through prorogation. But be that as it may, I'm satisfied that we're now finally getting on the right track. So, going forward and just, coming close to me wrapping up my comments here, we feel that, if we're going to successfully make our way out of this pandemic, but also, build a system that's better able to withstand shocks in the future, we're really going to try and make sure that both pharmacare and dental care are a part of the Canada Health Act. We'd like to make sure that those costs are borne out as a part of our public healthcare system, and I think they'll also end up saving a lot of businesses money, especially businesses that have sort of drug coverage plans or dental care plans as a part of what they have on offer for their employees. We think that kind of coverage should be part of the Canada Health Act. So those are two really big things that we'd like to continue pushing on for the future. Closer to home, I know that many of you are still quite concerned about the ravaging effects the opioids crisis is having, especially here in the city of Duncan. And I just want you all to know that, for myself, being one member of the Cowichan Leadership Group, this is certainly an issue that is top of mind for us. And while from the federal perspective, I don't have much of a direct influence on the day-to-day management of the opioids crisis, the delivery of healthcare services, I can tell you that I am relentlessly pushing the federal government to do better in making sure that we tackle that, because the number of people who have died from it, the number of people who are suffering through it, is still at record high numbers, and we're now 4 years into the crisis. I'm really happy to announce, on some good news. Let's end on a good note. A couple of weeks ago, the federal government announced $24 million for the Cowichan watershed. So that money is going to be put to some good use, in especially getting our new weir built in Lake Cowichan and helping manage our watershed levels. I'm just completely overjoyed with this. The weir has been an issue I've been fighting for ever since I became a member of Parliament. So to finally see the federal government acknowledge how important that infrastructure project is for our region, it's really fantastic. And it would not have come about unless it was from the combined efforts of so many people in our community. So I really have to give a shout out to that. And then just finally, I was really proud to introduce my bill on trying to get rid of those freighter anchorages in our coastal waters. And the rationale I have for this is that, first of all, those anchorages were established without the free, prior, and informed consent of First Nations, but also the federal government has clearly identified those waters as an area for a future national marine conservation area. And so my rationale is that if we see value in preserving those waters for the ecological and marine bounty that they have, but also for the tourism potential, then we should not be using them as an overflow industrial parking lot for the Port of Vancouver. So I've been quite floored with the response that that bill has received, and I'd be happy to keep all of you informed on how the campaign on that goes forward in the future. So with that, I think I'll conclude my remarks just by again thanking the Duncan Cowichan Chamber of Commerce for having me tonight. It's a real pleasure to see all of you again, even though it's virtually, and I certainly hope along with you that we can arrive at a place in 2021 where we get to have public in-person events. I know that can't come soon enough, so thank you all.
Hi. Thanks, Alistair. Really appreciate that. Have a, I think there's a question or two maybe in the chat box. I'm going to ask them just to be, so we don't get into some back and forth between the individuals. I want to keep us on time here. So a question for follow-up with Alistair. What's the timeline for the additional 20K to be added to the 40K offer, already offered through the SEBA program?
I'll keep you informed on that. All the government website says right now is coming soon. So unfortunately, that's all the news I have. But we're incredibly pleased to see that. You know, that's jumping by $20,000, and to have a third of it now available for forgiveness. It's really great news. And also, with Export Development Canada working with various financial institutions to free up credit to help with the day-to-day costs incurred by COVID, covering your bills, paying your suppliers, and so on. These are all tools in the toolbox that I hope can be made available to your members. And of course, if anyone has any specific questions on that or troubles with their applications, I'm here to help.
Super. Thank you so much, Alistair. And I really want to thank you for coming out and being our keynote speaker this evening. And as a and it's wonderful to hear about the collaboration and cooperation that's happening with our federal governments and seeing it through our provincial governments as well. That's the type of leadership that we need in these times of crisis. So really glad that we can hold our country up as an example of how parties have to get along in times like this.
Great. Well, thank you again. And I have to go home and start my parental duties. So I hope you have a wonderful, oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Before you leave, we have a small gift for you. It is a recently published E.J. Hughes book called The Book of Boats. So I would assume Sonia's holding it up there.
Yes.
Look at on your screen. And if you can stop by the visitor center, I'm sure that whoever's on duty would be pleased to give it to you, present it to you.
Well, thank you. That's very, very generous of you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
all.
Take care, everyone.
Okay, so I'm going to call our meeting to order, and it is 6:25, Sonia, if you want to write that down. And the first thing we're going to do is look at the approval of the 2020 AGM agenda. So what I'm going to do here, when I'm looking for movers and seconders, I'm going to ask for people to put their hands up on the screen, and I will call out their name as a mover and seconder so that we can record that. And then when we go to a vote, we're all going to put our hands up on the screen, unless of course you're opposed. And then when it's called for opposition, then you can put your hand up there. And you'll need to keep your hand up. I think that Alec explained this at the beginning. You'll need to keep your hand up because we have to scroll. I know on my laptop, I've got 2 screens going. So I don't know on others how it's presenting. So, but the movers and seconders, I will just call out your name as being the mover or the seconder. So I'm looking for a mover for the approval of the 2020 AGM agenda. I see Chris Duncan, and seconded by Chef George. Is there any discussion regarding the approval of the 2020 AGM agenda? You guys were okay? All right, so then we'll look for a vote on the approval of the agenda. Everybody in favor, please hold up your hands. And Alec, I think if you're recording, you're going to need to let us know when you are comfortable that you've captured it.
Yes, I'm good, thank you.
Is there anybody in opposition? Seeing
Okay.
no hands in the air, I will call that to be unanimously approved. Now, is everybody comfortable with the voting process? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, so next thing on our agenda is acceptance of the minutes of the 2019 agenda. They were in your package. I know that you all studied them very closely to make sure that there was no technical errors with them. And
Julie, also, if they don't have access to the package, they can find it on the events page on the Chamber's website. So go to duncancc.bc.ca, go to the Chamber events, you'll see the AGM and the full package is there
I'm
as a
going
backup.
to post the link in the chat window.
Perfect. Okay.
okay, can I move on? Okay, so we're looking at the acceptance of the minutes for the 2019 AGM. I need a mover. I see Leah's hand up there, seconded by Carol. Any discussion?
Sorry, Carol Messier.
Carol Messier.
Okay.
Sorry. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes from last year? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All in favor of accepting the 2019 minutes? And remember, hold your hands up until Sonia or Alec tell us it's okay to put our hands down. See, now you get to know how I feel when I get told what to do.
Okay, we're good.
Is there anybody in opposition with accepting the 2019 AGM minutes? Seeing no hands in the air, I'll say that we were unanimously accepted. Perfect, thank you. So moving on to the next item, which is item number 4 on your agenda, the election of directors for the 2021 term. So I am going to...
Sorry, Julie, I have to jump in here. I've just had a text. I think it was from Louis. Just we need to correct the spelling of his name on page 4. Sorry.
No worries. Is everybody comfortable leaving the acceptance of the minutes the way they were, or with knowing that there was the one correction in a spelling of a name? If anybody has any objection to that, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to let the vote stand. Seeing no objections, unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, so election of directors. I am going to turn the election process over to Chris Duncan, who currently serves on our board as the past president, and for tonight is our parliamentarian.
Thanks, Julie. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to start off by just reminding everybody that there was an emailed board package that went out earlier in the week. It listed the 6 candidates for the positions, and it can be found on our Chamber's event page. So first thing I wanted to do is just recap the board makeup. So the board consists of 12 elected seats, plus the past president, and then a number of external appointed liaisons. Annually, there are 6 positions that come up for election, and these are currently 2-year terms, and with the mandate of basically 6 directors expiring every 2 years. So the directors can serve a maximum of 3 terms or 6 years. And I'd like to introduce tonight's candidates for the 6 positions. So I just asked the candidates to raise their hand when I mention your name and introduce you. So we have 3 incumbents who are wishing to serve another term. We have Karen Bressler from KBL Law Corporation. We have Matthew from Panago Pizza. And we have Pam from PD Stover Corporation. Thank you for agreeing to run for a second term. We also have 3 new candidates tonight who are looking to serve their first 2-year term. We have Jason from the Island Savings. We have Tammy from Valley Carpet One Floor and Home. And we have Renee from Pemberton Homes. So at this point, I'd like to extend to the group a call for further nominations. I'm going to ask for a second time, are there any further nominations from the floor? And for a third and final time, are there any further nominations from the floor? There being no nominations from the floor, I look for a motion to acclaim the 6 candidates.
Moved by Vince, seconded by Tina. So all in favor, please raise your hands. Keep them up there until Alec or Sonia tells us that they have the count.
Yes, we're good, thank you.
Good. Now, is there anybody in opposition to that acclamation of the 6 directors? Please raise your hands. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Oh, I did call for a vote.
Called for a vote. So welcome everybody.
Sorry. Congratulations. It was voted unanimous. Nice to have you all on board.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you,
Julie,
Chris.
I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Really appreciate that. So now it's time for my president's message. And it's my pleasure to be here tonight to update you on what your chamber has been doing this past crazy year. I'd like to preface my presentation. Actually, you know what? I want to take a minute because I jumped something. I meant to first of all extend a welcome to our Mayor, Michelle Staples from the City of Duncan, who has joined us. Thank you, Michelle, and good to see you here. So I would like to preface my presentation with the acknowledgement that we are located on the unceded territories and ancestral homes of the Coast Salish people. We are honored to live and work in the Cowichan Valley. Well, to say the least, it's been an interesting year. We started this fiscal year way back in September 2019, feels like a lifetime ago. We were prepared for a banner year of tourism visits at the Cowichan Regional Visitor Center in 2020, including those resulting from 4 Alaska-bound cruise ships that would have been originating out of Victoria, first for the island. Our membership was on the rise, record growth, our advocacy efforts were strong. We anticipated another year of unique networking and learning opportunities, hosting another spectacular black tie gala, and yes, another year where we had shown that we were the voice of business in the Cowichan and we knew what was on Cowichan's mind. After last year's AGM, I returned to the president's position, knowing that the organization was strong, well-governed and managed, and excited to forge into the new year, 2020. Bring it on. I thought the chamber had already been through its most pivotal times. Boy, was I in for a surprise. Actually, we all were. COVID-19 has changed our businesses, our lives, and indeed our planet. Our world was tossed upside down. The greatest health and economic crisis of our generation has impacted each of us. We've had to adjust our lifestyles, how we work, and how we connect with those we care about. We have all sacrificed, but we had to keep going, and going we did here at the chamber. We researched, dissected, and disseminated all of the government relief programs that were being announced, at times almost hourly. And we distributed that information about those supports to our members, trying to make the path clearer through the onslaught of programs. We used social media, e-news, collaborated with other organizations to get the information out in many ways. Zoom became our new best friend, and Zoom fatigue is a real condition. The relevancy of the chamber has never been greater than in these times, not only while we're managing the next phase of the pandemic and economic recovery, but also while we struggle with other challenges that we face. Homelessness, mental health, climate change, racism, changes in governments, changes in trading policies, housing crisis, opioid epidemic. It is confusing to be in business. And it's these questions that we at the chamber strive to help our members answer. And despite the effects of this pandemic, our membership numbers have been stable. Our members continue to tell us about the value that they find that they receive from being a member. that they can count on us to be there for them when it matters most. I've been most proud of how successful we are in developing and broadening our partnerships and collaboration opportunities with local community organizations. We sat on the Cowichan Action Team to voice the concerns of business regarding the impacts of homelessness, mental health, and drug addiction. We became an Island Good licensee, and we promote this fantastic VIA program to our members. We supported the development of the Cowichan Work Society, and we partnered with Community Futures and Economic Development Cowichan to quickly develop the Cowichan Strong Initiative, an online business resource and support hub to ensure business resiliency in the face of the pandemic. We have a great working relationship with our local, provincial, and federal government representatives. We participated with the City of Duncan on their tourism committee and the street parking committee. North Cowichan has reached out for our input for the Municipal Forest Reserve, the Climate Action and Energy Committee, and most recently, their new engagement policy. Our Member of Parliament, Alistair McGregor, helped to recognize Small Business Week with us at the CRVC. We value the partnerships we have at our board tables, liaisons representing Community Futures, Vancouver Island University, Downtown Duncan Business Improvement Association, and Economic Development Cowichan. These liaisons bring great value to our boardroom discussions and ensure that our organizations support each other's activities. We also have appointed board liaisons from the municipality of North Cowichan, represented by the Mayor Al Sebring, and from the City of Duncan, represented by Councillor Carol Newington. And I'm really pleased to say that we now have a Cowichan Tribes liaison on our board, ensuring that their voice also adds to our discussions. Thank you, Councillor Calvin Swastis. As a member of the BC Chamber, we are part of a network that is 36,000 members strong, and we fully participate in the grassroots advocacy process that takes place at the BC Chamber AGM to ensure that our issues get into the hands of the appropriate government ministries. Together with the BC Chamber and 123 other chambers and boards of trades, we went to bat for local businesses, advocating at all levels of government. Your chamber network was pivotal in securing financial relief, funding support programs, and recovery resources to help support you through these unprecedented times. Other advocacy efforts this year were extensive. We spoke to the investment in the Cowichan Valley proposed by the Vancouver Island Motorsport Circuit and the economic and tourism aspects this investment would bring. We participated along with others in the coalition in the Thriving Orcas Thriving Coastal Communities campaign, supporting our sports fishers and the economic benefits their businesses bring. We spoke out loudly for our businesses against the motion that North Cowichan Councillor Christopher Justice proposed regarding a pause on development in advance of a new OCP. We supported other chambers on the island with a policy on restoring rail. We advocated for members who were and still are being impacted by the tent clusters that were set up in our valley. We wrote a letter of support for a member of the local accommodation sector regarding bylaw issues they were having with CVRD. We participated in efforts to reduce the federal excise tax impacts on distilleries, and we supported moving our beloved BC Hockey League to phase 3 of the recovery strategy. I want to acknowledge our Business Advocacy Committee, chaired by Director and First Vice President Karen Bressler, for their efforts in this area. Thank you. Our chamber is a legitimate and effective voice for business interests in our valley, and we are not afraid to tackle issues locally on the province or the federal front. We know that often the economic good and the social good of the community are intertwined, and the chamber sometimes is the only independent business voice that can support both community and social improvements. So along with our business values, we also embrace our community values and seek opportunities to be involved there as well. This year, we showed our support of many community projects, forwarding letters of support for organizations like the Raptor Center and Shawnigan Lake Museum, amongst others, for access to relief funds. For the CVRD to get funds to increase the digital literacy for their arts community. For Community Futures, for their proposal titled Main Street Matters, targeting funds for retail service, restaurants, and tourism business, incorporating such ideas as a marketing campaign to support local. And speaking of supporting local, our members have pivoted, shown resiliency, reimagined their sales strategy, taken on more debt, and stood on their heads to keep their businesses alive. Now it's up to us, the consumer, to show our support and keep our purchases local. Spend your money here in the Valley. It doesn't matter if it's not a one-stop website or if we have to phone ahead to make an appointment or arrange for pickup. We need to support our small businesses in our community if we want to see them here next year or next Christmas. Small business is the backbone of our communities. Without them to sponsor our kids' sports teams, camps, special events, volunteering their time, and donating their products and services for fundraising initiatives, where would we be? We will continue to lead big conversations while building opportunities, supporting projects that bring prosperity while being sustainable, and ensuring we are being progressive and innovative, balancing environmental protection and economic opportunities. We know they go hand in hand. Sonia will speak to our operating results, and Leah Hudson, our treasurer, will speak to our financial results for the year. But I would like to say I am pleased that with help from government supports, we made it through this most challenging year financially whole, despite our inability to host events, to hold our Black Tie Awards, or to fully open our visitor center, to mention just a few. As challenging as this past year was, projecting for the coming year was definitely a tap dance. We held the line on membership fee increases as we understand that many of our members are still facing tremendous uncertainty as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. Our members' viability was top of mind to us. While our 2021 budget has been approved, it shows the need for the chamber has for revenue certainty. A priority for us will be to come up with a solution to ensure stable funding for the Cowichan Regional Visitor Center. We need the help of our partners, CVRD, the Municipality of North Cowichan, and the City of Duncan to fund this service, which they signed on for with us when everyone decided to go ahead with this project 8 years ago. We thank CVRD, Municipality of North Cowichan, and the City of Duncan for their past support. We want to come up with a stable funding platform that recognizes the value the center provides for regional visitor services for the Cowichan, ensuring the center's viability into the future and putting an end to the annual funding question the Chamber currently goes through each year surrounding operating the visitor center. And of course, always looking for new revenue streams, our ED brings new and outrageous ideas to the table, be it online fundraising auctions, for which I've been outbid on all of my choices this year, and Cowichan branded advent calendars, the 12 days of Christmas. Every bit helps, and it's well used in our center. Supporting our efforts is our board of volunteers, our directors who are tasked in many ways to volunteer their service and help our organization. I want to express my gratitude to our directors for their involvement. Their discussions around the table are robust and passionate, but in all times and all ways, they take place with our members' interests top of mind. I also want to thank them for the trust they place in me to lead and represent them, and for supporting me once again in the president's position. And a huge note of thanks to our staff, ED and Manager Extraordinaire Sonia, Membership and Events Manager Alec, our Members Relation Coordinator Sandy, along with our Visitor Center staff, Kirsty and Patty, and our team of volunteers. These are the frontline people who carry out the day-to-day business and contribute in such a large way. And this year, they went above and beyond the call of duty, taking many, many changes in stride and always performing with a smile on their face. Thank you. And most of all, I thank you, our members, who believe in the power of the Chamber and who value your membership in this organization. The Duncan Cowichan Chamber is in a unique position as your business community's leader. Our focus over the next year will be creating a roadmap to recovery, listening to and advocating for your needs, and leveraging the Chamber network to ensure those needs are met. We will stand together, showing resolve and strength while we get through this pandemic and build a brighter future for all. And please don't forget, support local. Let's show those local businesses how much we value them. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. I can't hear you. I can just see you. All right. So now that we've got through my presentation, we're going to ask Sonia to give her executive director's report. And so I will turn the mic over to Sonia.
Geez, that's a frigging hard act to follow, Julie. Anyway, what a year. We were certainly on a roll this time last year, having introduced several events and new marketing opportunities for our members. Our membership was growing with a goal to announce 600 members strong at this year's AGM. And I was looking forward to bragging about the success of our 2020 Black Tie Awards. So my presentation will look a little different this year as a result of our transition to what just might be our new normal. And that's where I will begin, March 2020. We had just wrapped up our 4th annual Duncan Cowichan Festival with 27 participating restaurants, which by all accounts was successful in the goal to getting more bums in restaurant seats at a slower time of year, just after Valentine's Day. We were scheduling interviews with our 27 finalists of the Black Tie Awards, and we were hours away from selling tickets to our Oscars-style awards in the Cowichan Performing Arts Center. I had just signed a contract with the Ramada to hold our Business Expo, and we were lining up speakers for our 2nd annual nonprofit symposium. And we were making plans for our 2nd annual Amazing Race Cowichan competition. Some of you might remember our last in-person luncheon held on February 27 with a guest speaker from BC Housing. Who would have known that our policy at that luncheon of no hugging and no handshaking would lead to today's requirements to wear a mask, maintain strict social distancing, and we would describe our closest family members as our bubble. After closing our doors to visitors to the center and adjusting schedules for staff to work at home, we took a couple of weeks to accept this new chapter and what would be the role for the chamber and the visitor center. Interesting that while we were closed, the phone was still ringing, surprisingly for visitor info. Folks were asking what was open, how could they take transit, were they able to hike the local mountains or the Cowichan Valley Trail? And I remember a great big RV rig that was from Germany. They had put on a boat and it was in North America for a couple of years. They were caught in BC and Vancouver Island when we went into lockdown. They wanted to hunker down in the Cowichan for a couple of weeks, and we exchanged calls back and forth from the parking lot and left visitor packages and info outside our doors for everything from camping to filling their propane tank to where they could shop for groceries. Meanwhile, in the chamber office, our phones in the chamber started to ring with business owners who were in crisis. How would they be able to pay their rent? They voiced their frustration with the useless 10% wage subsidy that had just been announced. And many wanted to know how to fill out an ROE for their employees that they were laying off, and they were concerned about paying out a huge amount of severance. And that's when we realized our primary role would be as an advocate for the business community, and we quickly adapted to researching and finding solutions for these businesses and organizations. Our lifeline became the BC Chamber of Commerce, who were communicating daily, even hourly, with the provincial and federal governments to provide the financial resources and tools for businesses to make it just to the next month. As businesses slowly began to reopen and adapt to new conditions, we too adapted with outdoor or outside visitor servicing, slowly reopening a washroom for our visitors, and eventually providing visitor services at our double glass doors at the center. Our center was one of the first to partially reopen to visitors and was greatly appreciated by those locals, islanders, and mainlanders looking for activities and things to do. We are still one of the few centers on the island that continues to be open to visitors, albeit that they're not our traditional Canadian, US, or international visitors. On the chamber side, we were spitting our e-news out on a daily basis to keep our businesses up to date on the resources that were being announced hourly. We created a resource page on our website. We transitioned our social media pages to highlight our advocacy efforts. We created a special page, Business Not As Usual Cowichan, to highlight those businesses who were adapting and slowly reopening. And we partnered with Community Futures and Economic Development and others on a Cowichan Strong initiative to support businesses with resources, webinars, professional development, and coffee chats with industry leaders, all with the same goal of helping businesses during the pandemic and on the road to recovery. So what was different? As we've always touted that we are the voice of business for Cowichan, we just became a louder voice. We've always advocated for our businesses and our members. We just became a bigger and stronger advocate and champion for our business community. Excuse me, it's not COVID. We've always held networking and professional development events. We just started doing them differently through Zoom and other virtual platforms. And we've always had a strong presence on social media. We have an even stronger presence now, highlighting our member businesses and learning about their challenges with increased Insta drop-in videos and our Biz Banter interview series. Like Julie said, the Chamber has never been more relevant to businesses and more important to our business community. Thank you. We've been working on behalf of Cowichan businesses since 1908. And while I've only been at the helm for 8 years, I'm pretty sure the Chamber has endured many ups and downs over the years. We've been working tirelessly for our members since March, and we are grateful for those who continue to support our work and our efforts. I'm just going to have a little sip here. Well, I can't brag about reaching our goal of 600 members, or the 30,000 visitors who came through the center this year, or the huge menu of events and networking opportunities. I can tell you how proud I am of my fantabulous and dedicated small team at the Chamber and the Visitor Center. Alex, Sandy, Kirsty, Patty, and our wonderful pool of volunteers. I am proud of our solid membership base of 560 members strong, especially at this time when many organizations and chambers have seen a substantial loss of members. We've also welcomed many new members to the Chamber who obviously see the value of belonging in this powerful Chamber network. And while we will report just shy of 10,000 visitors that we've serviced at the Visitor Center in 2020, I am incredibly proud and grateful to the Center team, of staff and volunteers who adapted almost daily as to the way we deliver visitor servicing. We've given out more relocation packages than ever before to the many visitors who have decided to call Cowichan home after experiencing our destination, as well as our winter welcome package full of visitor info and coupons to all those mainlanders and prairie folks who have migrated to Cowichan this winter, opposed to traveling south to Arizona or California. And while I can't brag about our April 2020 Black Tie Award to recognize business achievement and volunteerism in the Cowichan, I can say that we are hoping to recognize our 27 finalists and our Lifetime Achiever recipient Pudge Bawa in a live in-person event, tentatively and hopefully set for April 8, 9, and 10 at the Chemainus Theatre. And that is why, this is just a small part of why we are encouraging everyone to follow the current health orders guidelines these next 2 weeks and over the Christmas holidays, so that businesses will be open this spring and special events like Black Tie Awards can be held, even if it means in small gatherings of 50 people. In closing, I want to thank our incredible board of directors and our executive team who guide the Chamber on behalf of the membership. We are fortunate to have a broad range of sectors represented at our board table. They all bring a unique perspective to our committee and to board meetings. And thank you to all of our new directors. I look forward to working with you all. And like Julie said, we do have all these opportunities to support the Visitor Center and to support the Chamber with our online auction, our Christmas countdown, Advent calendar, 12 days of Christmas, baskets, stocking stuffers, book an appointment, come into the Visitor Center. We are open, limited capacity right now, but we certainly are open for business. So with that, I'm going to go on to the most exciting part of the AGM. I know we all look forward to this part of the AGM, the financials. I'm going to turn it over to our treasurer, Leah Hudson, And I'm very happy to be working with Leah. This is her first term, and I believe your first kick at the cat in presenting our financials. Thanks, Leah.
Thanks, Sonia. Yes, good evening, everyone. I am excited to be presenting the financials to you today. I hopefully will make it as engaging as possible. And as Sonia mentioned, this is my 1-year mark for being the treasurer of the chamber, and I've really enjoyed serving on the board of directors this past year. It's been very rewarding, and I'm really looking forward to next year and hopefully more thereafter. So tonight, I will be walking you through the audited financial statements, and these financials are included in the AGM package that you received ahead of time via email. And as has been mentioned throughout this AGM, you can also find that package on the events page of the Chamber's website. And the first 7 pages of those financials will also be shown up on the screen as I go through my presentation. And Alec, if you could bring that up, that would be great if that can work. I'll let Alec.
Sorry, I did have it up and tested it earlier, and we are experiencing technical difficulties.
Okay,
so
no worries. Yeah, it's okay because you guys all have the package, so I'll refer to the page numbers as we go through as well, so that should be fine. So first off, I just wanted to start with the audit report, which is at the start of the financials in the PDF. And I just wanted to comment on the fact that the report is clean and there were no issues encountered. So I just wanted at this point to say thank you to Benson Seymour for performing the audit. And Kyle is here tonight as a representative, so thank you, Kyle. We will start with the statement of financial position, and in the financials in the PDF, that's on page 3. And before I go any further, I just wanted to highlight that the statements combine 2 divisions, that being the chamber and the visitor center. For those of you who are new to the chamber, you may not realize that the chamber owns and operates the Visitors Information Center that's located in the parking lot of the BC Forest Discovery Center. So later in the report, there is a separate schedule showing the revenues and expenses of each division, and I'll touch on that a bit later on. So overall, current assets increased by $83,000 over the prior year, and this is mainly due to an increase in cash, government receivables, and prepaid expenses. Cash increased primarily from the receipt of government assistance, including the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy and the Canada Emergency Business Account Loan. Government receivables increased due to wage subsidies that were received after year-end that were accrued for, and then prepaid expenses have increased due to some due to some expenditures that were prepaid for black tie that is planned to be held in this next fiscal year. Property and equipment decreased by $46,000, and that is just due to depreciation. On the liability side, current liabilities are up $17,000 over the prior year, but are still well covered off by current assets with a current ratio of 1.75 to 1. And the increase in current liabilities is primarily due to the increase in unearned revenue, and that was from the receipt of program revenue related to events that will be held in the next fiscal year. An account that some of you might not be familiar with is the deferred building contributions. And this records the unamortized portion of the contributions for the building that the Visitor Center and Chamber operate out of. As the Chamber received contributions for the building which purchased an asset that will last over several years, the contributions have been deferred and will be taken into income over the life of the lease, which is 30 years. And you can also see note 14 in the financials PDF for more details on that. Long-term debt increased $27,000, and that was from the receipt of the Canada Emergency Business Account Loan offset by principal repayments on the mortgage. And you can see note 16 in the financials PDF for more on that. We'll now move to the statement of operations. So Alec, if you could just go to the next page. and those in the PDF, it's on page 4 of the financials. And this statement shows the combined operations of the chamber and the visitor center. And after we have looked at them as a whole, we'll go to the detail in the schedule. Overall, revenues and expenses both are down due to the impact that COVID-19 has had on the operations of the chamber. On the revenue side, total revenues are down 34,000, and this is due to a few things. Firstly, program revenues are down 28,000, and this is due to the impact of COVID-19 on the ability of the chamber to hold in-person events. And you can also see note 11 in the financials for in the PDF for more details on the various programs. Secondly, retail sales have decreased 12,000, and this is again due to the impact of COVID-19 on the operations of the visitor center and the traffic coming through. The decrease in program and retail sales revenue is offset by an increase in member dues of 5,700, and this is a really positive number for us. The chamber has continued to offer important member services throughout these challenging times, and this just shows that members are really seeing the value of their involvement with the chamber. Direct costs have decreased 13,000, and that's a combination of a decrease in program costs from holding less events and a decrease in cost of sales due to having less of these sales. Expenses have decreased overall $12,000 due to various expense line items declining over the prior year, just from the impact of COVID-19 on operations. This all culminates in a deficiency of revenue over expenses from operations of 29,896. Then taking into account the revenue from the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, we end with a positive net surplus for the year of 19,813. We will next move to the statement of operations by division, and Alec, it's actually the last page of what I gave you, so yeah, perfect. And also page 7 in the financials PDF for those following along. And this shows the operations broken out by the chamber and the visitor center. And you can see that the visitor center is at a net deficit and the chamber has a net surplus that's positive. Next, we have the statement of changes in net assets. So that's just a few back, Alec, on page 5, and also page 5 in the financials PDF. And this statement tracks the inflows and outflows of the operating and capital funds and shows the cumulative balance of revenues less expenses. All right, so before I wrap up, I just want to quickly look at the statement of cash flows, which is on the next page, Alec, and also on page 6 of the financials PDF. And the important line here is cash flows from operating activities, which is a positive 35,000 this year. And this just shows that the chamber was able to maintain healthy operating cash flows in the face of the challenges brought by COVID-19. And the remaining pages of the financials in the PDF are the notes to the financial statements. And I've highlighted some notes while reviewing these other statements, and the remainder are similar to prior years. So that concludes my financial report. Does anyone have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? Put up your hands. Nothing?
All right, if there aren't any questions, I would like to make a motion to accept the audited financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2020.
Thank
And
you.
I will need
I'll grab a seconder. Yeah. Seconded by somebody. It's Arlene. That looks like your hand's up there. Now, does anybody have any discussion regarding the financial statements? Seeing no discussion, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, raise your hands and please leave them up so that Sonia and Alec can make sure that everybody is in agreement. You guys let me know when.
Okay, thank you.
And any opposition? Seeing none. Approved unanimously. Thank you, Leah. I think you have one more motion.
Yes, I would also like to make a motion to appoint Benson Seymour LLP as the 2021 auditors.
So that's moved by Leah, seconded by Matthew. Any discussion? We'll go to a vote. All in favor, hold your hands up and leave them up until Sonia and Alec tell us we can put them down.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Any opposition? So that's moved unanimously. Leah, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I did not. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Well, I would like to recognize Kyle Sangret from Benson Seymour, Chartered Professional Accountants. Thank them very much for their audit services and their work this year, getting that together for us. And we can now move on. What do we move on to? Sorry, I was following on the financials up here and I've lost my agenda. My agenda says the next thing is appointment of the auditor. We got that election result, so we didn't need to go to a vote. So we're on, because we were in an acclamation, so we're on number 10, recognition of our outgoing directors, special recognition. Sonia, are you up on this or would you like me to? Sorry, we can't hear you, Sonia.
You do it, I'll showcase the certificate.
Okay, perfect. So I'd like to thank very much our outgoing directors. Arlene Johnson has been a director since November 2017, and she has served on our membership committee and our nomination committee. Thank you, Arlene. Appreciate the time and the volunteerism. Vince Avery, where are you, Vince? Thank you so much. Since November 2018, Vince also served as the chamber representative on the City of Duncan Tourism Committee. Thank you, Vince. And Christopher Schmirk, since November 2018, served on our membership and advocacy committee. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Arlene and Vince, and the effort that you've shown to the chamber, the participation in our discussions. Thank you. So Sonia.
Okay, we're gonna do our 3 draws. We did go a little bit over.
Where's the certificates?
I showed them as you were showcasing them.
Okay, perfect. So Sonia, do the 3 draws.
I'm going to do the 3 draws. Thank you all for hanging in. It's 7:09, so we're not that whatever. Everybody's name who registered is in here, with the exception of our staff. So I'm going to call a name. The first one is for a certificate, $50 for Mr. Mikes, and that is compliments of the Glenn Naylor Financial Group, who manages our Chambers Group Insurance Plan, and Tammy Gursky.
Yay!
Come on over to the visitor center and pick up your $50 gift certificate and bring us for lunch. And next up is Arville Creek, $25 gift certificate, and that is Andrea on the call? Andrea Rosado Taylor?
Yes,
Hey!
yes, yay!
Yay! There you go. We're going drinking.
Yay.
And the last, and the last one is a wonderful little package from Yellow Point Cranberries. I'll do the thing, and who's that? That is Chris Duncan. You're going to be baking. Yes, perfect. That's it. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. I think we're
During the meeting.
The wrap up of our. Sorry, George, what was that?
That was me. I said you need to adjourn the meeting.
I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
I'm getting there. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We've had another great AGM. So at 7:11, I look for a mover. George is moving it, and I see Matthew. Was that your hand up down there to second it? Is there any discussion about the motion to adjourn our meeting?
Yeah, maybe not.
So listen, everybody. Put your hands up if you're in approval of adjourning our meeting. And I just want to say thank you all for coming out, and all the best to everybody in this coming year.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Cheers,
Thanks,
everyone.
Julie.
Thank
All the
Thank
best.
you.
Cheers.
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 Well, we just had our dinner.
Yeah.